Hey everyone, it's Fatesiel Taylor, and today I'm excited to announce that we are partnering up with G-Kids Films. And in case you don't know who G-Kids Films are, they are a New York-based distributor of award-winning feature animation for both adult and family audiences. They've done a lot of stuff like Studio Ghibli movies that you might have seen in theaters, and they're doing Mirai by Mamoru Hosoda. Woo! In case you couldn't guess from the title of this podcast. So we're excited for this, and we hope you guys at home are excited for this too, because we have an exclusive opportunity to the listeners of the podcast. So if you click on the link in the description below, it'll take you to a website where you can sign up to have a chance to win 2 free tickets for Mirai at a theater of your choice. As long as that theater of your choice is in the US and Canada, I believe. So yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Please sign up. And now, the episode. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the R Anime Podcast. And once again, we have a very special episode, this time brought to you by our friends at G-Kids. And today's episode is going to be about none other than Mirai. From director Mamoru Hosoda, who's most well known for Wolf Children, Summer Wars, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, all, I would say, movies that we really enjoyed and really liked. Mirai is a new epic journey through time and space, and theaters for a special theatrical event November 29th, December 5th, and 8th. Tickets are available at miraimovie.com. So, I'm your host today, Fatesiel Taylor, and I'm with 2 really good friends of mine, and 2 people who have enjoyed Hosoda's works throughout the years. First up, I have the one and only Shaking807. How you doing?
Great, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. And we also have none other than Funkmaster Bex.
No one calls me that, like...
You call yourself that.
I call myself that because it's funny, but, like, I don't expect people to call me that seriously. But
I call you that. I call you that now. That is your name. But... So, today, the movie we are talking about is Mirai by Mamoru Hosoda. But, in case you're sitting at home and you're like, man, they're saying this dude's name a lot. Like, why should we care about Mamoru Hosoda? And you haven't seen his other films. Well, let me tell you, his other films, like before this, like one of the reasons why we're so excited for Mirai to hit theaters in the US and in North America is because this guy has quite a resume. And Sha, do you want to take it away with what you've thought of Hosoda's films so far?
Oh yeah, so Hosoda's is like a really interesting director. I think he has this really great ability to create movies that are very emotional, but without being too over-the-top dramatic, so they don't really feel too forced. But they also have this really interesting look to them in that they're very simplistic, but it's in this animation art style that I think feels very, like, universal almost. I'm using a source from this, as in my mom told me that she watched it and said it looked really gorgeous and that I could show it to people without it looking like weird anime-ish stuff, you know? So I think it's a really unique style to a lot of his films, but he's just done some really great stuff in the past. Wolf Children is my favorite anime movie of all time. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. And I've recently really enjoyed Summer Wars, which I saw just a couple days ago. And The Girl Who Leapt Through Time is also a really solid film. So I think he has a really not unique appeal because I think other directors have this, but he has a very wholesome aesthetic to him that you can show to anime fans or your friends who might not be really into anime culture and film.
Yeah, that's a really good point because a lot of his films have a very, shall we say, more broad audience to them. And I think part of them is, what's interesting is I think they also have a broad audience in Japan. And I feel like he normally employs non-traditional anime voice actors in his voice acting lead roles.
Yeah, it doesn't really... I'm not sure if it's just, like, you know, live action actors or maybe stage actors, but they don't feel like anime voices, so to speak. Feels like everyday people kind of conversations, which makes it feel more grounded.
Yeah, and like one of the voice actors for Mirai is Haru Kuroki, who is the voice actress for the titular Mirai. And apparently, according to Wikipedia, she won the Silver Bear or Best Actress Award at the Berlin International Film Festival.
Oh wow!
Some years ago. So like, they get some like acclaimed voice actors. I know they did the same for Wolf Children as well. So
yeah,
they have a bit of more like a grounded tone to them. And they don't sound as familiar, which is interesting, but I think it plays well to the audience that Hosoda usually tries to reach. And Bex, what are your thoughts on that?
On Hosoda himself, or
On Hosoda himself, his reach, his unique penchants as a director.
yeah, I want to say I think his films are always very emotional at their core. Usually, they deal with very, like, I guess, timeless themes. Like Wolf Children is about family, and like while the idea of raising wolves or part wolf children is pretty weird, it's still very grounded as like a piece. Stuff like, what is it, like The Girl Who Leapt Through Time deals with stuff like love, which is like pretty timeless.
Timeless.
Oh my god, I didn't even like try to do that. Wow. Other than that, I what I like about his work is that it feels like I'm actually watching like a live action film sometimes, like the way it's shot and everything. Like I just saw, so he did like you said, the Digimon movies, and I watched the 20-minute short film, which is where the Digimon it's a prequel to the series where the Digimon monsters just kind of like pop into the real world and they cause a lot of trouble and stuff. It's actually like very shot like very geometrical and everything. It feels like a live action movie actually in a lot of ways. It's shot like from like the kids like point of view a lot. That's another thing he does, is like a lot of point of view shots. Like what I love is that when it's like focused on a character, they're like kind of standing in the middle and it looks like you are in the person that's talking usually in their shoes and you're talking to them, which I always found interesting. And I wish like anime kind of did that more personally, but it's something that I've always found interesting. And like you guys said, it's their art style is very simplistic, but it also has like really nice, like very detailed backgrounds, which is kind of it's, you would think that like having super simplistic character designs on top of like super detailed background art is kind of weird, but it like works really, really well actually.
Yeah,
it's super nice to like. I was gonna say Mirai's background art is really nice, like especially the what is it? There's a couple flashback parts that are really nice looking.
Oh yeah,
they actually feel like they're almost like memories because they're kind of washed out. They're not all the way like painted.
Like sepia photos.
Yeah, like when you remember something, you don't remember every piece of it, so like parts are gonna like look missing, but you remember like the big stuff, right? Anyway, this is kind of an aside, but yeah, most of his movies also have really interesting concepts. Like Summer Wars is pretty interesting, even though it's kind of low-key the Digimon movie.
Without Digimon. It's like Digimon without Digimon.
It's Digimon without Digimon, but like it's a for the time at least, it was like a concept that wasn't like super big in anime, like in another world, in a digital world, right? Where like Wolf Children is about raising wolves, which is kind of a weird idea, but like it's executed super well, right? Boy and the Beast is like I guess that might be like the most not original, but like least interesting concept, but it's still done really well. Stuff like Girl Who Leapt Through Time is a time travel story, but like kind of is done a little bit differently. It feels like really, what is the word, original in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
like the way that it's done I thought was very interesting. And like I feel like I'm forgetting one of his other movies, but like he has like a pretty big filmography.
He also did
for like as long as he's been around. Like he's been making anime since like the 90s, but like his film, like the amount of films he's done in like the past 10 years is like pretty good for a film director actually. Like
for sure,
he's made like 6 films in the past like 10 years or something. That's like really, really nice, and they're all at the very least critically acclaimed, which is like pretty successful.
So he's technically done 5 movies in the last 12 years, with Girl Who Leapt Through Time, Summer Wars, Wolf Children, Boy and the Beast, and Mirai of the Future, or Mirai no Mirai. So all those, and it's really fun, like charting his course in a way, through all these movies, because you get to see him like grow as a director, especially when you consider the first one was Digimon the movie, and you kind of see, because with Digimon the movie, the art style was very different from the original TV show.
It looks very Hosoda actually. Like that's another thing. He has very, very like he has a Hosoda face. There is a Hosoda face in his films.
Yes. And you brought up how like simplistic the character designs are, but I feel like that actually allows the character designs to be like more
they have
fluid.
Very, like, good expressions on their face. Like you can still tell like how they're feeling and everything. It's actually like pretty great. But they move really nicely too. That's the thing. Super well.
So it's super fluid. I I'm thinking of like one of the scenes in Wolf Children
they're
that's
running
like
through the
super
snow?
famous.
The snow
Yeah,
scenes.
the tracking shot.
Oh, the
my
tracking
gosh.
shot is so cool, actually.
Oh,
I love that.
That's like one of my
like,
favorite, like one of my favorite looking things in anime. Like that scene itself is just so beautiful, and it's so cool because it communicates so much without being like there's no dialogue. It's just the wolf kids and the mom running through the snow with like a really upbeat song in the background. Like it's just so
like
cool.
really driving song. Like, like inspiring.
Almost like they're running a sync
uplifting
to the music.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
So, and one thing I did want to touch upon, especially because we do bring up the music aspect, is that I've really enjoyed his choice of music throughout his films.
Yeah.
The Girl Who Leapt Through Time had the Goldenberg Variations by Bach, and I bring that up because in a sense it like works, right? Because it's variations, right? So the Goldenberg Variations are a theme composed by Bach, and like each of the following variations takes that initial theme and like changes it a little bit at a time, and each time like the timeline gets reset, the variation that's played is a little different. So like from the start you understand that Hosoda has like a very solid concept of the messages that music can bring through film. And I thought that was very on point in Wolf Children. I thought that was also very on point in Summer Wars. I wonder how much influence he had on the dub version of the Digimon movie, because that soundtrack,
is like super dope, actually.
The 1 Week by the Bare Naked Ladies
Doesn't
scene.
have like All Star by Smash Mouth as well? Like
it also has All Star.
Does this have like
finally
Funk Soul
an
Brothers?
anime that
It has
uses
like
that.
the 2000s like playlist.
It has Kids in America as well.
Oh my god. So he's like he's killing it so much. See JoJo, like we're telling you, like get All-Star in your endings. Look at Hosoda for example for this.
Oh man. I wonder how much influence Hosoda had on that. But with Mirai, and I guess we can talk a little bit about now that hopefully we've sold people on why Hosoda is so awesome and so beloved and so acclaimed. Thanks to our friends and partners at G-Kids, we were able to see a preview screening of Mirai. And honestly, the first thing that blew me away, I mean, I was expecting beautiful animation. I was expecting like really, because we mentioned the realism of his camera shots, but he also takes advantage of the animation medium as well. There's that one really good video by Every Frame of Painting about the vertical panning shot in Wolf Children that conveys a sense of passing time. Yeah. And I kind of saw that with Mirai too, where like there's one part where he goes to like various sections of the house to like show the progression of like them going through their normal day and like the dad like adjusting to be a stay-at-home dad. And while I like that, the music blew me away. Absolutely. Like it just felt so on point and just so fantastical, if the word makes sense. But that was my first impression. Shaw, how about you go take this along? What were your first like general impressions of Mirai? What should people be looking out for?
Well, I guess should we describe the general premise of Mirai, because people might not actually know like what is this movie about.
This is true. I mean,
they might not know.
This is true, and the lead does say it's an epic journey through time and space, but that could be anything. I mean, Star Trek is an epic journey through time and space, and Mirai is not Star Trek.
Yeah, we're not like actually this isn't a spoiler. We're not actually going through time and space. It's just like an interesting character study looking at this 4-year-old boy as he gets a newborn baby sister, and it kind of shows just how his life changes, even though like his life is very small in scale. He has his own playroom, and they have this really interesting house where he has like his own kind of room, and then he has to go up these stairs outside, and then he's in the main house with like the kitchen and everything. But it's an interesting looking setting for the story. But it just kind of shows that as his newborn baby sister comes into his life, his parents have to like split their time between the two kids, and he has to adjust to this, and he doesn't really do the best job of adjusting to this. But he kind of has these like fantastical getaway imaginative adventures throughout the story, and it kind of shows him learning life lessons from other people in
and his family.
Yeah. So I think it's really interesting because like there's not a lot of times when we get to see the point of view of like a 4-year-old child, and a really 4-year-old feeling child. You know, it's not
he definitely feels like a small child for
he
sure.
He feels like a small child, and there are very like understandable situations we go through when we're 4 that we like can understand his emotional state. But it's cool because it manages to have that fantastical leaping through time and space feel in this very grounded character story.
Right. The small boy
like,
who leapt through time and space.
The small boy who leapt through time.
Because like who as like a tiny child did not have an overactive imagination.
Yeah.
And like play in the background and like imagine like castles and all this stuff, and like the way he does it, so like it's not like a literal like him getting into a spaceship kind of thing, but like in the conversation he overhears, or like them talking, like going through photo albums, like he meets certain people, and so it's like an introspective journey through time and space, if that makes sense. Yeah, and it's so I really like that, and I really liked how the parents came across too, and I feel like especially with Wolf Children, and even kind of in the Digimon movie slightly, so Hosoda does a good job with parents, and I think that's a quality that's either not present or not applicable in a lot of anime. Like a lot of anime have like, oh, like I'm living alone, going to high school. My parents are on a business trip for the next 6 months.
Yeah, that is such a long business trip, actually.
But it happens all the time. It's like, why are they on a business trip for so long, and like not even like sending phone calls or like postcards about where they are? It's just like totally accepted. But here, like, the parents have like really grounded conversations and really family oriented conversations, and like really paints them as actual human beings and people. So it feels like it's kind of geared to a different audience than, again, most late night anime might be geared towards. It's definitely geared toward
this isn't your harem where the parents aren't there.
Right. And at one point they do come across a girl who is in high school, and her skirt is actually like a proper length.
Yo, it looks like an actual like Japanese high school uniform or middle school uniform.
Right.
Like super legit actually. But
yeah, and it was gorgeous. It was very grounded. Was there So what expectations did you guys have going into this film?
I didn't really have any expectations, actually, other than, like, I'm expecting a Well, I knew, based on the trailer, that it's, like, the kid's older sister, which is featured in the trailer. And I was like, oh, is this going to be some family stuff? I was like, probably some family stuff. I didn't really... So I didn't really... I don't think the trailer I watched had subtitles, so I was like, I don't know what they're saying. And there's a lot of things going, because there's a shot of like a bunch of trains going by, and I'm like, I don't know what that means. There's like a spooky train thing, and I was like, I don't know what that means.
There is a spooky train thing.
I love the spooky trains.
Like the kid is following like a bunch of cookies to a middle school child, like in a jungle. I don't know what that means. Like it's a bunch of like really out of context stuff, right? And then I got to the movie, and I'm like, okay, now I get why there's all this weird stuff in the movie. I was like, because it's a bunch of fantasy stuff, and I was like, that's the only way you could really explain it, actually. But I didn't have many expectations, other than like, I know it's a Hosoda film, so it's probably going to be like wholesome in some way, right? And it definitely was wholesome. Definitely was, actually, very, very wholesome. But I guess. Oh, you go, Shaw.
No, you finish.
No, you're good.
Oh, I essentially was probably going to expect the same. I kind of guessed like a girl who left through time meets wolf children.
Kind of, yeah, actually, or Boy and the Beast or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't actually gotten to see Boy and the Beast yet. Soon, TM. But so
it's like Beauty and the Beast, but a boy instead of Beauty.
Ooh, but what if he's a beauty? I don't know. That's kind of maybe.
Yeah,
we'll
what are you trying to imply, Faye? Like he's not.
Boys can be beautiful. Let everyone be beautiful.
Bishonens exist for a reason.
Yeah, but so I didn't really have much expectations. I actually listened to the Anime News Network podcast on this beforehand, and like they kind of gave like an impression of what the movie was.
It should be known that they are known detractors of, not detractors, but like they're not the biggest fans of Hosoda.
Yeah, they said in their semi-review that like they're not really Hosoda fans. So I didn't really think that their take on the movie would really line up with mine because I'm a big Hosoda fan. So I didn't really know what to expect. But then what I did get was I do think it's kind of like his. I don't know how to say it. I feel like it's the most like stream of consciousness movie he's done so far. I don't know if that fits because we kind of get to see like so many different events happen as they kind of occur to this young boy. So it doesn't really feel like, I don't feel like it's like as structured as some of his other films. So I can see it being a unique experience. But
No, I understand.
Time.
And for me, it was really weird because I have this thing where I don't really watch trailers for films before going to see them. Like I hate doing that. It's just I'm not a fan of spoilers. So like if I was actually not on this podcast, I probably wouldn't listen to this podcast. Yes.
Fair enough.
I love, of course, I love the Our Anime podcast, which you can find us on YouTube and on Twitter on Tokyo Podfathers.
How did you show for us?
Wait, is the podcast ending already? Are we already like?
No, oh shoot!
How did we get that? That was like a smooth shilling. That was impressive.
Thank you.
That was practice.
Thank you. You know what else is impressive? Hosoda cinematography throughout Mirai.
That's true though.
So I went into this with like. I wasn't sure what to expect because I loved Wolf Children. Wolf Children is firmly in my top 5 anime films, I want to say, alongside the likes of Nausicaa, Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya, Tamako Love Story.
I love that. Silent Voice.
Yes, The Silent Voice. Thank you for knowing my top 5, Bex. I appreciate it.
You know, I that's what I'm here for.
So, with Wolf Children being so high up for me, I loved Wolf Children. I really loved The Girl Who Loved Through Time. It was kind of like a romance I really liked, and I really liked the concept with it too. As though it might not have been completely novel, I thought like Hosoda did a very good take on it.
Yeah.
So excited for this, and then I was doubly excited for this because when I went to Japan this past summer, like there were posters and advertisements for it like everywhere. Like, you could not go on a subway without it, which is funny because there were so many subways and trains on the
Did you get on a
movie.
spooky train, though?
I didn't get on a spooky train, which, I will say, Shinkai and Yamada are probably my 2 favorite anime directors, and they both heavily feature trains. And until this point... I was
about to ask you, Faye, did Faye like this movie because it had trains? There's so many trains in this movie.
I'm not gonna lie. When he started... there's a point where they talk about the Nozomi, and they talk about I don't think it was the Hikari, but it was something else. And I was like, those are names of the Shinkansen.
Names for his sister, and he was like Hikari or Nozomi.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, like the train. I was like, well, of course, because he loves trains.
Yes, and I also love trains, so I was like, oh, that's great. And
is this movie just about fate? Is this movie just about
If I had a younger sister, would I have hit her with trains?
You try to name her after a train.
Yeah, oh my gosh. It was great, and at one point they're like, don't hit her with a bullet train. It's like, it's not a bullet train, it's not the Shinkansen. And then like the train stations looked really great, and I was like, Hosoda, I wasn't expecting this many trains, but you have my attention. He pandered
so hard to Fate.
I mean, I think it was the most trains I've seen in like there was at one point the most trains I've ever seen in like a 10-minute span in this film. And I loved it. I was there for it. It also happened at a very important time in the movie. So I'm just going to say, like, important things always happen.
Best scenes of the movie involve trains, actually.
Yo, I think...
It's because of the trains.
It's because of the trains. I think Hosoda, after... like his other films, they were okay. But they didn't involve trains. But now he realized, he's like, oh... We gotta add more trains to this film.
If only Wolf Children had trains.
Train children.
This is a train children.
If only the kids were part train.
Oh my god.
Imagine the scene in Wolf... Oh, God, I'm not even gonna
No, we can't go there, Bex.
No, I can't. No.
But back to Mirai. It's... Even though, like, I went into it thinking of, like, Wolf Children, Summer Wars, Beast and Boy, Girls That Live Through Time, in many respects, it's different from those films, too.
Yeah, I was gonna say this one feels the most different out of like all of his other films. Definitely.
Even
like,
with
one, there's the age. There's the age of the main character.
Right.
Very different. And then 2, it felt because I don't know. Part of me wants to feel like this one felt a little bit less. I don't know what the word is, but it felt like it was. It didn't have something that the other films had, but that's not a bad thing, right?
Well, I was trying to say it felt less structured in a way.
Yeah, it felt
interesting.
To
me, it felt actually more structured. It felt like more rigid structured because of the like very distinct vignettes that happened throughout the film.
It's almost like maybe it was like intended to be like you're experiencing life as a child. Like life as a child is a bunch of vignettes, right? Like childs don't think about time and structure a whole lot, right? Yeah. So that's kind of what the film felt like a lot of the time, like just kind of being confused and angry all the time, right? Very emotionally. It's a very emotional movie, actually, down to its core.
I think it's like, I think I can see it as vignettes, but I feel like as a story, it's less of like, it felt like a stream of consciousness from this child. Like, I didn't feel like it was kind of like, here's the overall plot. Like, it didn't really have like, you know, an overall story structure to it where you have like, here's the plot, like this is what we're trying to do. Like there weren't any real goals per se. So it kind of felt more fluid in like, this is what he experienced this day and then he experienced something else the next day. And I think they could be broken down into vignettes, but it definitely felt more of just kind of like this organic.
From the point of view of Kun, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which always threw me off that they called him Kun-chan because I was like,
I thought
at one point,
Kun-kun.
At one point are you gonna call them Kun?
This is what I wonder when I like his name is Kun, but like maybe they should have named him after a train. Like you don't have to worry about like Train Kun. Like that
just
would be
name
better.
him Bullet
Train. Yeah, they should have named him after Bullet. Shinkan's Kun. Yeah, no, it's and of course we will have another episode on Mirai once the special event screenings have happened again on November 29th, December 5th, and 8th. After that, we will be releasing our own podcast on a more in-depth look at our thoughts and review on this film. This is mostly just for if you're wondering about this, what you should expect. So, again, hopefully, I don't really think we spoiled anything. And it's also one of those films where it's like a lot with slice of life films, or like slice of life anime, it's hard to spoil things, right? Like you can kind of spoil K-On, but like you can't really spoil K-On.
I
mean, there are moments in K-On that you can spoil,
right?
But I feel like specific moments, but like you kind of know what you're gonna get out of K-On,
right? Probably. And with like Mirai, with the trailers, with the description, you kind of know what you're going to get. But with Hosoda, when a film like that is in the hands of and I think most people would agree that he's a brilliant director, you kind of leave it up to them and like let them take you on that journey and trust that they will, especially because and I don't know if this is the standard. I really should look into it. But I know both Hosoda and Shinkai write the screenplay for the films that they direct as well. So like Hosoda wrote the script for Wolf Children, I believe Summer Wars, and Mirai as well.
Yeah, he's like the director, screenwriter, original creator for like for Mirai.
Yeah.
Wolf Children, yeah.
So because of that, it's like, you know, sometimes like you often get like writers who like leave a project because they can't work with the director or vice versa. But like Hosoda, like his vision
is this... fire himself.
His vision, the director's vision, is the same as the writer's vision. So you're going to get a very
that's
film.
really easy to like what's the word, adapt, I guess, into animation.
Because they also I know he released a novel form of Wolf Children and a manga form of Wolf Children, both of which he wrote, I believe.
Yeah.
So it's obviously he's obviously a very talented artist, because he also did key animation. He did he directed the opening for Samurai Champloo as well.
Yeah. Yes, he did, and it's great.
Great opening.
I don't think anyone would have guessed that it's Hosoda though, because it's very unlike his other stuff.
Right. It's not the Hosoda face. It's not the Hosoda.
It's not wholesome. It's hip-hop.
I feel like it's wholesome in my heart, even if it has them like, you know, chopping up.
Well, I think actually it is kind of Hosoda because it's very expressive with its like character animations. Like you can still get who like Mugen, Jean, and Fu are just by like those like shots of them just like expressing emotion.
And they're like all smiling at each other, and it's cute.
Yeah,
it's all wholesome.
Actually, it kind of is Hosoda, because it's actually very simplistic in a lot of shots.
Uh-huh.
Like a lot of it is a bunch of silhouettes.
Right.
And, like,
true.
Hosoda loves like doing like Hosoda's style is very simplistic, but like means a lot, or has like carries a lot of weight usually.
Right.
It's just very aesthetically pleasing, and that's kind of what Shampoo's opening is very aesthetically pleasing, right?
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would also talk about the One Piece movie that he directed that I watched, but I watched it when it came out in like 13 years ago. So I don't really remember. I wasn't really watching One Piece when I was 12 for the cinematography.
I've heard it's really good though. I've heard it's like super duper good.
Like,
I
actually really enjoyed it. I think I watched it like 3 times. I like rented it from like a VHS like DVD rental store by like my grandma's place in Korea, and just watched like the Korean dub of it. It was very fun. I remember really enjoying it. It was by far my favorite One Piece movie. But I can't really tell you much about it other than I really enjoyed it.
It's kind of cool that he can kind of take on these big franchise movies like not Wolf Children, that's his movie. Like the Digimon movie or the One Piece film, and kind of adapt to already existing styles. Like I can't really imagine other anime directors kind of doing something similar,
Yeah, it's something that's kind of unique to him, right? You don't really get.
I'm guessing that he did like a Digimon and One Piece because he used to work at Toei. He started out at Toei, right?
At Toei, yeah.
Oh, it makes sense.
Yeah, which is why he also worked on Galaxy Express, I believe, which is also Train Anime.
He worked on some Magical Girl show as well, I think.
Didn't he work on Sailor Moon?
No, I think you might be thinking of Hideaki Anno. But no, I was thinking of Ashita no Naja.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yes.
Oh no, he did work on Sailor Moon, but only as a key animator.
Oh, okay, I see.
It all starts with Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
Oh, he also worked on like Dragon Ball, so Dragon Ball Z at least. That's pretty legit. Yo, this guy's been everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, he also did a lot of good stuff at Madhouse, and then, I mean, that's another conversation for another day. The fall of Madhouse post like 2011-ish, with all the people leaving, and forming his own studio, which is really impressive. The fact that his studio has been able to do whatchamacallit, Boy and the Beast and Mirai of the Future, because a lot of times when directors branch out to their own studios, it doesn't always work out well. But when you have such a talented director like Hosoda, I guess it doesn't really matter what the studio you're working at is, as long as you get the necessary funds and budget.
Yeah, and I think it's cool because I think, no matter what films he makes in the future, like with Mirai and like moving forward, I feel like even no matter what I think of them, it's always worth giving them a shot, which is kind of the message I'd give to most of our listeners who are maybe on the fence about checking it out, is like, it's definitely worth giving it a shot, and it'll look really gorgeous in theaters.
Oh, for sure.
So it's definitely worth the experience to check it out.
I would also say that I would recommend people see it in theaters. One, because, like, first of all, it definitely looks like it was meant for the big screen. Like, sometimes you see anime films and you're like, oh, like, this could have been just
this
shown
was made
on,
for
like...
radio?
Radio killed the anime film. It's sometimes you're just like, oh, this is just like an extended episode, but with Hosoda, like, you get the theatrical aspect of the film as well. And so thank you to G-Kids for bringing a film like this to theaters for us to watch. I'm really looking forward to it, and it's one of those things where it kind of helps with the general audience too, like in the North American region, like being like, hey, do you guys want to go see this movie? And it's like seeing, like, maybe getting them to watch an anime on TV or like in your living room might be a little different, but when you see it in the theaters, it's like not so different than saying like, hey, let's go watch a Pixar movie or something like that. So and especially with this being so geared towards the Main Street audience, I think it's really beneficial to the state of anime in the West. So I'm definitely going to be going to see it in theaters again. I'm looking forward to it. How about you? So, Sha, I think you said you would also consider going seeing it? Yeah?
Yeah, I definitely see it again.
Mm-hmm.
How about you,
Bex?
I definitely want to see it in theaters. Cause, like,
yes.
Yeah. Mostly for, like, certain moments. Like, I think the climax moment. I think you guys know what I'm talking about.
Right.
I don't want to spoil it.
Uh-huh.
But that whole moment, And then like the last scene of the movie, which is like
yeah.
with that. There's that one song that's played at the end that's really nice.
Yeah, the soundtrack for this is so good.
Actually.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. So if you guys could sum up your thoughts on Mirai in a way to get someone to watch it. Let's say someone was just like, I don't care about what they have to watch the movie, say about the movie. I just want to hear at the very end. What's your TLDR about Mirai?
Oh, okay. Okay. I want to say I don't think this is something you can replicate in live action. I'm gonna give it that like kind of like Satoshi Kon. Like you can't see a lot of this stuff in live action, so you might as well see it in anime, right? Because it's pretty unique, actually. But yeah.
So watch it because you can't watch it anywhere else. And how about you, Shaw?
I'd call it. I'd say if you want to go see a wholesome family themed movie,
something you can
like,
take your parents to.
Take your parents to if you want to show your parents that anime isn't that weird. Take your parents, go watch it at the movie theater. They'll be impressed at how impressive your tastes are that you're watching.
And they'll be reminded at how annoying you were as a kid.
Yeah, they'd be like, show it to them and be like, look, oh my gosh, I understand you guys as parents now, I get you. Because I showed Wolf Children to my mom, and she really loved it. And it's now her, like, golden standard of, anime films. So maybe this will be, like, your mom's new golden standard of anime films to kind of show, like, hey, like, this is some cool stuff. It's wholesome, it feels good, and you have a good family outing. So that would be my pitch to go see Mirai.
Yes. As for me, I think I agree with Shaw. I actually did get my mom to watch Wolf Children with me on Mother's Day a couple years ago, and she absolutely loved it, was bawling towards the end.
Nice.
And watching this, I was kind of like, maybe I should have my parents watch it too. I feel like they would really enjoy it, and or not if not enjoy it, they would like appreciate it and be like, man, finally someone like diving into the lives of the parents of the 4-year-old.
As much it is as a kids movie, it's also a parents movie for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So you could watch, like, young kids could watch it, parents could watch it.
I think anyone at any age can enjoy it, really.
Yeah.
Even like grandparents, like especially grandparents, actually. But
yeah.
Oh yeah, the grandparents.
Dogs can watch it.
Dogs can watch it.
Yo, dogs can watch it. I was not expecting dogs to play a part in this movie.
They definitely increase the enjoyment.
Dogs and Trains, the Mirai story.
This movie has like everything low key, like it really does.
Anime.
Yes, in this corner of Hosoda's film.
Yes.
And so that is it for our first part of our Mirai episode. Be sure to check out part 2 when it arrives after the screenings of Mirai in theaters in North America. Thank you again to G Kids for helping us host this episode and presenting this episode to all our listeners. We will also be doing a giveaway related to this episode. We don't have the exact details yet, but we will release it on our Twitter, which you can find on twitter.com/TokyoPodfathers. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. Join our Discord. We have a lot of great conversations there. We can talk about Mirai. We can talk about Hosoda films. We can talk about anime in general.
We can talk about memes.
We could talk about memes too. And as always, thank you for listening and stay tuned.